Okay. Hi, everyone. This is Zoph. You are watching Simply SCAdian, no title required. Tonight, I am joined by Lucas's much better half, Fiona, who will be interviewing our very special guest with me. Just a reminder, we have two more shows before the end of our season, but we are already thinking about our next season, which will be season 7, believe it or not. And so we're looking for guests. If you are interested in being on the show or know somebody who's interested on being on the show, please use our Facebook page for Simply SCAdian and send us a nomination for someone to be on the show because I'll be contacting people this summer to line up all of our dates, I hope. So, with that being said, I'm going to do my Geek Girl stuff while Fiona takes it away and introduces our guest. It's all yours,
Oh,
Fiona.
thank you very much. We have tonight Jon Renwick. Now, Jon has been a member of the society for 22 years and starting at the ripe old age, 18. He calls the barony of Setmore Swamp his home and has made quite a name for himself while being in his tenure with the barony through service and an interest in thrown weapons. He has grown to be a valued member of the Setmore Swamp community. I'm going to say absolutely on that. Throughout the years, he has taken on many roles, including Feastocrat, Court Jester, and Coob Bringer. We'll get to that later. He is a member of the clan Bathier and can also be head shouting their name during court for his fellow house members. For the last decade or so, he has been fortunate enough to spread mirth and merriment as the court jester of Setmore Swamp. He can be often found running a Coob tournament, helping in the kitchen, and staying late for breakdown. Occasionally judging brewing competition and lifting his fellow community members up. That is very true. He holds several baronial awards for service and was recently awarded the Silver Wheel. So proud of you. All right, welcome,
Why, thank you.
John.
Welcome. So, how did you find the SCA?
Well, thank you for that wonderful introduction. Like it kind of said in the bio, I found the SCA when I was 18, right? Basically, like right out of high school, I found the SCA, and I had found the SCA through gaming, right? Through another nerdy outlet. I had made some friends that were a bit older than me that had done this, weird, kooky historical reenactment thing. And we played games together. We did D&D. We did LARPing, right? And so through him, there was an event coming up that was called Quest, which coincidentally, Quest is actually coming up in our currently in about 2.5, 3.5 weeks. And I'm co-autocrating this quest, which will be super exciting. But so, rewind back to that time, back in 2003, he said, hey, you can come do this thing. There's axe throwing. There's hurley, this ancient Celtic sport. There's, cooking. There is all of these things that I was like, yes, 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 right? And now I was fortunate enough to I had loved camping through my parents, and oddly enough, I found out after going to my first event, my parents had done the SCA when they were much, much younger in upstate New York. Right. And again, for whatever reason, which again, I wish that they were still with us, that I could ask them these questions, but like they did the SCA, they had some fun, they did their thing, moved to New Jersey, had some kids, and then never went back. And I was like, man, I could have been like SCA legacy, but that's whatever it is. So anyway, so he tells me, my friend, if we're going to go to this quest event, part of it is you have to make your own garb. Now, at this point in my life, I had never picked up a sewing needle or thread or endeavored to create anything of that nature for myself. So I went, okay. So me and a few and two other friends of mine, we go ahead and we make the most basic tea tunics and wrap pants, right? They're made out of these beige, almost brownish material, and each of us have the same exact outfit, right? Like they're the same outfit cut from the same material. So we end up going to this event, and my friend tells me, hey, listen, this event is great and it's wonderful and there's a lot to do, but the best way to get involved, the best way to kind of find your place and find people is to help out, right? Is to find, someone will always need help doing something. So, go ahead and find that space. And this person's name, who I've kept referring to, his name is Pippin. And we started going around. We started helping with cooking. We helped set up the targets for archery and the targets for thrown weapons, right? And basically, we throughout the weekend we got dubbed Pippin's Minions because we were all uniformly in these beige brown outfits. Yeah, and I went to my first quest back in 2003, and I was hooked. Right, like I got to throw weapons, I got to play with sharp objects. I saw all these people in all this wonderful garb. I met people that were older than me, people younger than me, people my age. Right, I really got to see a community that I didn't have access to at that point in my life. And I was fully hooked, right? And I thought Quest was the best thing that had ever happened to anyone. And I have since revised some of those opinions, but I still think Quest is kind of the best thing ever.
Tell us a
I
little bit
will
of,
agree. I have been to many a quest, and they are great.
It's kind of the best.
We have a quest on
yeah,
that day
that's
that
what I
goes
was going to
with
ask.
me.
For the people who are not from the East Kingdom, what
Sure.
makes this event so special?
So, right, the reason, and again, this is an excellent question because Quest, I think, was a perfect event for someone like me who was, super nerdy in the like gaming world, but also, interested in historical. Quest is a true merger of that like role play quasi LARP and the historical, right? So, like, Quest is a weekend long event, generally starts Friday night, and it goes through Memorial Day weekend often. And it goes through till Monday, right? So it's a big long weekend event. You camp out, and the Friday night and Saturday, you kind of have your classic SCA events, right? You have thrown weapons, there is fighting, there is archery, right? You have kind of your what you would consider the classic SEA. There is generally a feast as well, right? And the big thing that sets Quest apart from other events, though, is Sunday of the Quest is the actual quest itself. Now, one person has taken it upon themselves to write the quest, and generally the quest is themed. And I wish I could remember what the first quest theme was. I can't, but the idea is like it may be mythical figures in Greece, right? And the idea is that various members of Setmore Swamp will set up as obstacles or little kind of NPC interactive stations, and people will participate in the quest, the questers, if you will, and there will be a mission, right? It will be like, you must save Hercules from the underworld. You must gather all of Shakespeare's accoutrement, right? Every year there is a mission, right? And as the questers, they basically form teams of three. There's generally an adult questing side and a children's or youth questing side. And what you do is you go to each of these stations and there is an activity, right? A riddle, a poem. You have to entertain them. You have to obtain a MacGuffin. You have to play a silly game, right? And again, it is usually on theme. in throughout my time at Setmore, I have often been a obstacle for Quest. Right, some years we were sirens calling people to their graves on the shores. Other years, I was the god of strength and thunder, and you had to best me in a game of Coob, right? And again, years have changed, but generally there is some theatric to it, right? There's a little costuming, there's a little, you kind of put a little extra theater, a little extra drama on it. Yeah, and you get to interact with the world around you. There is some amount of time limit to it, and basically, when you have gathered all the objects or you have solved the whatever, you turn that into the person running the quest, and you will then have won the quest. And there is basically one winner from the adult side and one winner from the youth side, and they are then honored in court later that evening, Sunday evening. But yeah, for me, that was like the big draw, because like the other stuff, cool, like Hurley throwing weapons, eating good food, cool, great. But like, oh, we can be a little dramatic, we can put on some characters. Now we're talking my language, right? And that's really what sold me.
So,
And I know the theme runs throughout the whole weekend too. So
Mm-hmm.
all the fighting goes with that theme. They usually have like the archery, the targets will be that theme, and then the feast on Saturday will also be
Yeah,
that theme as well.
so you're co-event steward though this year.
this year I am. I have that pleasure.
So
Yes.
is this your first time serving in that role?
Serving as co-autocrat, yes, it is. I've been doing this for 22 years, and just like I know many of my friends, many of my peers, many of my colleagues have done autocrating, and it is a big job. There's a big lift, and I've seen people do it really well. I've seen people do it a different version of really well. And again, it's just not a skill set that I typically have, but I have a really great partner that is doing it with me, Lady Emmeline. And the theme this year is just pure fun and chaos, and it's gonna be a lot of fun.
All right, so East Kingdom friends, Northern Atlantia friends, get to Setmore Swamp for Quest. That's what I'm
Please
hearing.
do.
Yeah, it would be a good one to have everybody. All right, now, not everybody knows what Coob is.
Yes, that was the next question.
I often get this question comes up surprisingly a lot for me. So I'm going to preface this. I'm going to go through the whole thing. I'm going to preface this, right. There are a lot of period games out there, and Coob is not documented in the way that other period games are, like Skittles, is it Tambor? I it's something like Tambor, but there are other period games that are well documented. Coob, unfortunately, for whatever reason, is not well documented. However, one can certainly look at Coob, which is made up of wooden blocks and wooden batons and a slightly larger wooden block that to make the king. And one could certainly say this could have existed in a medieval period. Unfortunately, there isn't documentation. All that being said, it is the best, most fun lawn game out there, in my very biased opinion. Um, yeah, Coob is a wonderful game, and the thing is, it is inclusive. Every year at Quest, we run a Coob tournament, or have for the past 7, 8 years, and we have kids, we have people who are older, right? They're if you can stand and lift I don't know, 6 ounce wooden baton, you can play this game, right? The barrier of entry is very low, and it's a wonderful game. And there's a little bit of strategy to it. There's a little bit of I'd say there's a fair amount of skill to it, and And the version of Coob that we play, because Coob is played like, it's not a, let's not say it's a sport, but there are certainly Coob enthusiasts, and there are Coob tournaments for like big time money out in the Midwest. It's very popular in the Midwest. And the person who introduced it to me is from Ohio, so certainly makes sense. Um, but
I'm
there,
from Ohio and I've never heard of this game. I'm in Ohio at this very moment and
at
I've
this
never
second,
heard of this
yeah,
game. Okay,
I
go
don't
ahead.
know. My friend John from Ohio taught me this game, and I was like, "Cool. How do I get it? Where do I buy it? I need it right now." And as soon as I learned of this game, I knew that I had to bring it to Setmore. And so the actual game of Coob, and I'm not going to go through every single rule, but the actual game of Coob is a very highly skilled, very accuracy based game. And I've seen the tournament style of Coob, and I think it stinks. Perfectly honest, I think it kind of stinks. However, there's a much more fun version of Coob that we play in Setmore with some special rules to make it move a little faster and to make it just more enjoyable. But it's a wonderful long game. You maybe need 25 feet by 12 or 15 feet to play, generally or hopefully on a flat surface of your choosing. Traditionally played in the grass, but we've also played it on cement. We've also played it on asphalt, which definitely changes the game. But it is a super fun game. And since I have brought this game to Setmore, I brought this game to Setmore many, many years ago. I have kind of become synonymous with this game. And again, I only say this. This is not in a way of me tooting my horn. This is not a way of me aggrandizing myself. One of the bards of Setmore Swamp at One Penzic wrote an epic poem. Think Beowulf style, about Jon Renwick, Coob Bringer, great hero of our age. And again, I couldn't recite half of it to you, but it was this epic thing where I fought off a hydra with my enchanted club. It was a whole thing. And ever since then, I am Jon Renwick, Coob Bringer. And yeah, it's been great. It's been really wonderful.
So for people who are interested, how do you spell that?
Kubb, Coob.
Okay, for our viewers that are interested in learning about this game, including me, the Ohio
Yeah,
girl who's never heard of it.
please.
I
It's
mean,
a real
maybe
fun
it's just
game.
not a Cleveland thing. Maybe that's it.
It could be. Yeah, I don't know.
All right, so you also mentioned being the court jester for your barony. Tell us about that.
I do have that honor. So it's I mean, so I had been playing with Setmore Swamp for a little while, right? Again, I started when I was 18, and I started to learn the ropes, right? You start to learn about court, about the hierarchies, about baron and baroness. You start to learn kind of the world of the society. And what I noticed is my friend Pippin, who had brought me into Setmore and into the SCA, and me and Pippin have a lot of, let's say, we have a lot of overlap when it comes to our styles of humor and certainly the way we look at service and food and things like that. But what I noticed was whenever there was court, that was a very serious affair, and everyone was very hushed and everyone was paying attention. I would watch Pippin go up, sit down on the ground next to the Baron and Baroness at the time, and he would make goofy jokes. And maybe some were a little meaner than goofy, some were a little more truthful than right. And he would basically do commentary, and it was a good time. And I looked around, and again, this is my own my own opinion. I do not prescribe this to anyone else, But I looked around at the Baron and Baroness, and I looked around at the people assembled very quietly, and I looked at Pippin, drinking from a large horn, making jokes at his own expense and others' expense, and I went, "That's the best seat in the house. How do I do that?" Right? And unfortunately, Pippin stepped away from the SCA for a few years for his own reasons, and I kind of saw a void, and I didn't see anyone really stepping up to fill that space. So I kind of, I gathered my courage, and again, I'm a very boisterous person. I like to make fun. I like to find the joy and the mirth in things. And I thought that I could do this thing. And during the reign of Baron Eric and Baroness Janine, when they got called into court, I kind of just volunteered myself, and I sat next to them and I did my thing, and they didn't kick me out. Like nobody hit me on the head with a stick and said, "Get out of here, kid." So I kept doing it, and I've done it for what, four reigns now. And Pippin has since come back to the SCA, and we'll kind of trade off here and there, and sometimes he'll do it, sometimes I'll do it, sometimes we do it together. Yeah, but it's been, I don't know. Like I said, I think it's the best seat in the house. Not only do you get to have fun and poke fun and, bring joy to a serious moment, but it's also from like a very personal perspective. A lot of times people get awards of beautiful scrolls, and they get awards of beautiful jewelry. And, if you're sitting 8 or 12 or 15 rows back in court, you don't see anything. It's just colors on paper. Sitting up front, sure, I get to make silly jokes. I get to see everything too. I get to hear everything too. So yeah. And over the years, the various baronesses and barons have embraced the role, and we've done little skits together. And I've been arrested before by the sheriff of Setmore. Yeah, and honestly, I love it.
It is a lot of fun watching you. It's hysterical.
Awesome.
That's kind of the point, right? If I don't think that I would have lasted this long if I tried it and it wasn't funny, right? They would have been like, "Hey, kid, great job, nice try, but why don't you hang out with us back here?"
Go sit down.
Yeah. They'd be like, "There's a seat in the back for you." No, but like, and I think that's something that Setmore, and again, I've only played with Setmore. I certainly attended the events of Carillon. I've attended events, all over mostly the East. Bacale has wonderful events, but like, what I noticed is Setmore not only loves bringing its people up, loves thanking its people for their service or recognizing their people. They also like shtick. They like the joy of it, the fun of it, right? And like, as much as I'm talking seriously about something silly, it kind of matters to me. We're all doing this, and it should be, hey, when you say thank you to someone, that should be special. That should be nice and should make you feel good. But like, we're also doing this volunteer. A lot of people, and trust me, I've worked a lot of events. I know how much work goes into these things. And a lot of it is a lot of volunteer work, and it needs to be joyful, right? This needs to be labors of love. And I think if we keep mirth and joy as a core element of what we do, we keep coming back to it, right? Like, so I don't know. That's my 2 cents anyway.
In your bio, you mentioned helping out in kitchens. Are you a cook? Have you ever done a feast?
I am a cook. I was a professional cook for over a decade. I cook. I cook in my real life very often. I've worked catering. I've done a lot in the professional sphere of cooking, and I've helped throughout my entire tenure. Right, like I described earlier, my first event, I got kind of thrust into working the kitchen and helping in kitchens, and it always felt good to me. Right, it always felt a place that I belonged. And throughout the years, I have feasted a number of BGIs. That's Black Griffin Inn. For those not from the East Kingdom, this is a wonderful event. It's a kind of a smaller, almost like a tavern event that is hosted by the Canton of Griffinwald, that myself and Fiona are part of. And I've not only have I feasted myself, I've helped in kitchens for mud thaws and I mean, you name it, and I've done it, kind of thing. There's been years where the feastocrat didn't show up, and they needed a feast, and myself and a few other proficient individuals went, "Okay, boys and girls, what are we doing?" And we made a feast.
I can't even
But
imagine that
yeah,
seriously happened. Somebody just
oh,
didn't show up to make a feast.
so oh gosh, I can't believe rewind quest 12 years ago, and somebody came Friday and they came with all their ingredients and all their stuff, right? All the stuff that they would need to cook the feast, right? And that was Friday. No worries. Saturday, it's Saturday afternoon, and we had told this person, "Hey, we'll give you a hand." Right? It was myself, it was Pippin, and it was Kagyu. Uh, and the three of us, again, we all have professional cooking experience. We kind of said like, "Hey, we'll rock out the kitchen today. It'll be a good time." And we knew the person who was supposed to run the feast. And it's about noon or so, and we're at the kitchen kind of waiting on this person, and we go, "Hey, has anyone seen blank?" I won't name them, but has anyone seen this person? And oh no, and then we learn, oh no, they left. And we went, what? So we are fortunate enough at our quest site at the Clinton Elks Lodge that there is a bar on site. So my friend Kagyu went, "All right, fellas, here's the plan." And he lined up some shots, and we did these shots, and we made a menu in less than 10 minutes with the chicken and the rice and the parsnips and all the things that they had. And we just kind of rocked through it and just kind of banged it out in 4 hours, 5 hours, whatever it was. But yeah, that was a wild year.
I'm assuming they've left the SCA at this point.
Nope. No.
What? Shut the door.
Now, I will say to their credit, it turned out that there was an emergency and they just didn't communicate that to anyone. So, like, we were plenty upset. Like, it was funny because as we're doing it, we went from like annoyed or pissed to just like, this is hilarious. This is so absurd that this is how this happened, that we just kind of leaned into it. And we learned later that it was an actual emergency situation, which is fine. But they just didn't communicate. So yeah, it was a wild time, Zeph.
That's ridiculous.
Oh my God. Okay. I don't even know. Fiona, do you have a question? Because I'm so flustered on this. I don't even know what to ask.
I've known Rennie for years. I've known Jon for years. Thrown weapons? What do you throw?
Sure. So, I when I first started in the SCA, I got big into axe throwing. One of my very dear friends and Bayfier clan members, who's no longer with us, by the name of Quinn, he kind of taught me how to throw. And Quinn himself was also a thrown weapons champion for umpteen years in Setmore. And he really kind of showed me technique and showed me how to do this and how to do that. And he would hang out at the range after tournaments and after stuff to like, hey, this is, if you want to just get some time throwing, here's, I'll hang out with you and we'll kind of throw and chat and stuff like that. And, it was one of those things that were like, I was interested in throwing weapons because it was just cool, but I found a mentor who was interested in building me up or just spending time with me, and that was really big for me. But I throw axes and knives. I need to get better at throwing spears. I'm terrible at it. I just need to work on it. But yeah, I mainly throw axe and spear or axe and knife. Sorry.
Pretty cool.
So tell us about this clan that you're in.
Sure. My pleasure. So for those in Setmore, Clan Bathier has been around almost as long as Setmore Swamp has been around, which is saying a lot. Setmore Swamp is one of the oldest baronies in all of the East Kingdom, maybe all of the SCA. I don't quote me. I'm a court jester, not a historian. But Setmore Swamp, we just had our 40. I don't know. I think we're like 2 or 3 years behind Penzic. So like we just had our 48th like year, whatever. So Bathier was around long before I was around. And it started out as a household for a bunch of people who had Celtic and Pictish personas, right? Kind of very ancient Earth, very tribal, very, very tribal kind of attitudes. And these were the people who were loud, who were boisterous, who would drink and sing, and I don't want to say be nuisances, but, we're maybe like when you go, hey, where's the trouble at? Bathier is probably where the trouble was. But as much as that is sometimes the case, Bathier, over the years, right? Again, I've only been in Bathier for, 15 years? No, maybe 12 years, something like that, a little over a decade. And not only, right, do we keep our boastful and loud traditions alive, we also have some of the greatest artisans in the SCA. We have some of the best brewers in Setmore Swamp. We can often be identified by our boar. I don't know if that's gonna. Yeah, there we go. By our boar rings and our Celtic plaids that we often wear. And we are very much a work hard, play hard household, right? We are definitely, when it's time to pack up events, if you look around, 8 out of 10 people doing it are probably Bathier, right? And we, again, it's a sort of like, it's an extension of love from Bathier to Setmore. But the thing that I always loved, the thing that, again, before I was Bathier, when I was still a wee lad, like looking up at all, with big shiny eyes and all the cool people doing stuff in the SCA, what I noticed was when people would get awards, right? Your name would be called up and you would process forward to kneel in front of the Baron and Baroness. And, some people were very demure and da-da-da. But if someone was Bathier, when they would go up, all of Clan Bathier would shout, and I will not shout for those listening, but they would shout, Bathier! And it was this wonderful, like, hey, you get to, like, as you get to go up and be thanked or be recognized, you have a whole cheering section who are rooting for you, who like have your back. And to me, that I was like, that's really cool. Like, that's how it should be, right? Like, we all get awards and we all get recognized, hopefully, for doing good work and doing service and doing whatever actual achievements that we've done. But, this thing that we do is about our community. This thing that I don't know anyone in the SCA who does this for any amount of time, right? Any amount of length of time that hasn't found people, who hasn't found their tribe, their crew, their right, like their people. And Bathier has very much felt like that home, that tribe for me. And don't get me wrong, I count Setmore and my Swampies in that as well. But Bathier, we call each other clan brother and clan sister. We are very much a big tribe of ne'er do wells, but there's a lot of love and a lot of good times to be had. Um, yeah, there's a lot of us in Setmore. I'm trying to think of what else to say about us. We're kind of the a-holes, right? If you during Kingdom Court when everyone is very quiet, we're probably the people who aren't.
So you did mention another thing that I wanted to ask about. Unless Fiona, did you have a question you wanted to
Well,
ask?
I was looking to make. I was like, if she doesn't have a question, I have to find a question.
Okay. Well, you're next. You're after me. So
Okay.
you mentioned brewing, and that's something.
Sure.
Do you brew or do you just judge brewing?
So I'll be honest, I dabbled when I was younger, and I dabbled in making. I made a few short meads,
What's a short
and
mead? Wait,
I
wait, wait, wait. What's a short mead?
so a short mead, is basically a mead that takes it's a very set amount of time, and I haven't done it in a while. So it's like a 5 week mead or a 7 week mead, like it's something like that. And the idea is that the besides the honey, um the yeast and stuff that you use matures very quickly, and that process happens very fast, and you stop the process early before it can kind of mature. As you might with some meads or some sizers or something, you might let them go for them to develop new flavors or to mature in whatever way you're trying to mature them. These were very specific. I got a few kits when I was early in the SCA, and me and a few of my other young friends were like, "Hey, let's give it a shot." And I don't think we made anything terribly impressive or good, but we had fun doing it. And I've always been very interested in the process of brewing. I know a lot of brewers. And I wish I did it more. If I'm being honest, I wish a lot of it for me has been a little bit of having space to do it. Um, and that has not always been accessible for me for a variety of real world reasons. But I've taken. I'm not certified. I used to be certified, but like I took like so. Not only was I a chef for a long time, but I took classes on beer tasting. Right, you can be certified as like it's whatever the beer version of sommelier is, and I can't think of the word, but there's a word for it. And yeah, I was again years and years and years ago. I was, and again over time, I have found that a lot of Bathier, a lot of people that I tend to spend time with, happen to brew or know brewers, and um, I've judged several of the brewing competitions at Quest for our brewing champion. Just recently, at this past Yule at McHale, I was asked by the Baron of McHale to help judge their brewing competition, which was a ton of fun. Shout out to McHale of McHale. What a wonderful chap he is. Yeah, it was great. Anyone who hasn't been to Yule, it is a phenomenal event that takes place in January in this wonderful historic German building. And they have a great hall for their court, and they do a wonderful feast. But maybe most importantly, the entire downstairs section is a bar that is made up of all the brewers of McHale who bring their homebrew stuff. I can't recommend it enough. There's also on the third floor, there is a very kind of sectioned off historical section with all these lovely books and all these lovely relics, and it is a very cool event all in all. Um, there's also music. It's a lovely event. Um, but this past Yule, I had a friend who had brought in Hibamon Iberica, which is that big hunk of ham that you have to like cut into strips. So I'm sitting there cutting strips of ham for my friend. I go to wash my hands of ham grease, and my friend Dietrich grabs me and he goes, "Rennie, we need you. We need you. John, come with us now." And I was like, do I have a choice? And they went, "No." And I went, "Okay." And I got whisked away, and it was a lovely time. And it was a really great time. I got to judge the brewing competition with Aiden, who is a very accomplished brewer of Bacale. Yeah, but I have had the joy at the last BGI that we had. I was able to judge there as well. Yeah, I mean, again, I haven't done a lot of brewing, but like I know a lot of things. I know a lot about the process, and I know a lot about flavor. I guess.
Gotcha.
I guess.
Okay. Fiona?
You've done everything else. Have you done any A&S?
ANS. So thank you for asking, Fiona. I am not normally a crafty person, right? Like I said earlier, the first time I picked up like sewing needle and thread was 22 years ago to make an outfit that didn't survive the weekend. By the way, right? It did not. That's a story for maybe off camera, but did not survive the weekend. So and again, I know there are many arts beyond the threaded arts. But I'm just not a terribly crafty person. I'm much more a social creature. I much more get involved in the kind of moving and shaking of things of that nature. But recently, Setmore Swamp held a Venetian Carnival, which was a very high immersion event where through many hands, and it would take me all the time left that we had to mention everyone who was involved to make it happen. But through many, many hands and many, many hours of labors of love, they made this really special Venetian carnival come together. Everyone made their outfits, like handmade their outfits, or most everyone. I don't know that with 100% accuracy. There was a acting troupe, there was dance classes, there was period music, there was period food. I helped out on the food side of things. My dear friend Kagyu or Yagyu no Kagatoke, he ended up feastocrating, and I was kind of his like number two. Whatever. I was kind of there from the ground up helping him out. And for this event, I made my first set of garb that will actually last the test of time and not be destroyed by the end of the event. I made a doublet, I made a linen shirt, and I made the pants have a name that I don't remember. I made a pair of pants, a big pair of baggy pants. My friend Emmeline is going to kill me, but whatever. I'm very lucky that I have a dear friend, Lady Emmeline, and they have their master's degree in the dramatic arts. They have, if you know Lady Emmeline, their garb is top notch. It is beyond reproach. And they are a wonderfully skilled seamstress. And they kind of guided me through the process. And I have to say, it was very daunting, right? Again, like I said, 22 years was the last time I even approached this. And it was kind of daunting. I'd never done anything like this, but it was very rewarding. It was a little scary because I didn't know what I was getting into. I didn't have any I don't know, relevant skill set. But again, and I'm going to bring it back to this community thing, I knew that I was in good hands, right? I knew that I had someone there who would take care of me and who would kind of give me a little pat on the butt and rub my little head and tell me I was doing a good job and would and kind of get me where I needed to go. And they would tell me, hey, sew up this way and then do this. And that makes a sleeve. And to me, that was sorcery. That was full on black magic that I do not understand. To this day, if you were like, Bren, make a sleeve like you did before, I'd be like, I don't know, dude. um, but but it was a really wonderful experience. It was, and again, after doing it and after doing this and going through and doing a French seam where you turn it inside out to hide your doing all this stuff, I felt like I walked away with knowledge, and that even though I may not have understood everything I did, I got to see it from, its elemental components into something crafted. And that was, I could really, and again, in that moment, I really appreciated the fiber arts in that regard. So that was cool. So that's kind of my big A&S thing that I've done.
All right, we're almost out of time. So believe it or not, it is time for the last question.
Sure.
What can the SCA do better?
What can the SCA do better? Oh gosh, what a question. So I think again, I think if I'm going to answer that question, I think really it's about inclusion. I think it's about tearing down any gatekeeping. It's about opening up avenues of interaction. Because again, I was lucky enough with not only the people in the group or the people that I came with, that I was kind of thrust into things, and it wasn't strange, it wasn't weird. And while I didn't know everyone there, they were happy to have a new face. And I have heard and seen people try to get involved, or people get turned away or have a bad experience as a new person at an event. And to me, that has to change, that has to stop, right? Like, if we want this thing that we love to continue, if we want our communities to grow, we need new people, new ideas, new blood. And yes, I know that we are recreating history, but it's about the people, not the society of it all, right? It's the community that we make, and that community has to grow. And there are plenty of lovely people in the SCA that I would love to meet, and that I would love to bring into the things that I do. And I try to cultivate, like, things like Coob is, to me, hey, do you know nothing about the SCA? Are you confused why everyone's dressed up? Well, you can pick up a stick and throw it at a block, right? Like, this thing is accessible to everybody. And it's something, it's a silly game and it's a lot of fun, but like, it's one of those things that, like, if you're not sure what to do, I'll make sure that you're having a good time doing a thing that I am the steward of. And, not to make it about me or about what I do, but I wish there were more things like that. And listen, I'm sure that there are plenty of avenues that new people maybe just don't know about, right? Maybe they're not present enough, or they don't know what roads to take or who to talk to kind of go down those paths. But I wish that there was a much clearer way of, hey, so you're new to the SCA. And yes, I understand we have a chatelaine position. That's the whole thing, right? You're new, cool, talk to this person, right? And I get that. I do. I don't know. I've heard too many times about people either having a bad time or not being able to get part of things. And to me, that is against every core value that I hold dear when it comes to this thing, right? Like, if I ever saw that in my presence, I would have a very major issue with it. But And again, I think I'm not alone in that thinking, which is great. And I think that there are people who are working to make those pathways more clear and make things more inclusive. I just hope that it is something, we need new blood, we need new people, and I hope that becomes a higher priority for us going forward.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being our guest tonight.
You're
This
so
has been
welcome.
awesome.
This is so
Yeah, it
much
was
fun.
great, John.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, you have been watching Simply Scadian, no title required, with Zoph and our special awesome co-host Fiona and our amazing guest Jon Renwick. And we will see all of you in 2 weeks for our second to last season ender interview with another special guest. Have a great evening, everyone.
Bye.